Welcome into JC Sports. I'm your host, Joe Chap, Detroit Lions News podcast on JC Sports. We're going to be talking about something that I think is pretty critical with the Detroit Lions. You know, the Detroit Lions are having one of those years that I'm puzzled by because we all know that they lost Aiden Hutchinson early in the year in the Dallas Cowboy game. And right now, their defense is doing pretty damn good. When you look at their defense, they have 18 takeaways, fourth most in the NFL. They're at 19 points per game. That's eighth best in the NFL. Those are two top 10 units. But then you look at third down, they're 31.4%. That's best in the NFL. And when you think about what Aaron Glenn, the challenges that he's had, a lot of people, they wanted Aaron Glenn gone because they thought Aaron Glenn was not going to be the answer for the Detroit Lions, a defensive coordinator. And he got more pieces. He added, more pieces. Carlton Davis has been a huge help. Obviously, Carlton Davis had the 2 interceptions against Houston. They allowed 0 points in the second half. But when you look at this Detroit Lions team, like the secondary has become their strong suit. It really has. Aside from Terry Arnold, just he's getting better every week, but he's still a rookie, so it's a hard transition from college to pro at the cornerback position. But you look at Brian Branch, potentially an all-pro. You look at, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. They're both top 10 in ball hawk rate. I think they're both top 5 in ball hawk rate. But when you look at this Detroit Lions defense, it's just amazing to see what has happened, what's transpired with the Detroit Lions defense. Because a couple years ago, everyone was calling for Aaron Glenn's head. Everyone. And then last year, they turned it on. They obviously got better coaches with Terrell Williams coming over from the Tennessee Titans to coach the defensive line. He's earned his money, especially with Aiden Hutchinson going down. They're going to get reinforcements with Zadarius Smith coming to town. It's going to be a lot of fun for the Detroit Lions defense. I did not really expect them to be top 10 in takeaways, top 10 in points per game, the best team in third down percentage. I don't think no one did. A lot of people, they wanted Aaron Glenn gone, and there was reasons for it. They were a bottom tier defense. They were one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and yet Aaron Glenn's done a damn good job at just putting together the talent that is necessary. Unlike Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn hasn't had the most talent on his defensive side of the football. We all know there was the first couple years were lean. They were very, very lean. When John Kaminsky's your best player, up until Hutch, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph was young, Derek Barnes was young, and then you look what they're doing right now. I mean, they're missing guys in the front seven that you would be like, how are they still doing this? How? Kirby, they're missing Derek Barnes, they're missing Marcus Davenport, Aiden Hutchinson. They're missing guys in that front seven that you're going, okay, this is a lot. And that's a credit to Brad Holmes and the way that he's drafted, but it's also a credit to Mr. Aaron Glenn on the way he's coached. A lot of people, they left this guy, they always wanted to nitpick this guy. This guy hasn't had the talent that Ben Johnson's had, and yet defense has been good enough to win 11 games last year. Yes, the defense was horrible last year. When Kindle Vildor is your best starting cornerback, we might have an issue. When Cam Sutton's getting burned for 197 yards by CeeDee Lamb, we might have an issue. But they were one of the top defenses in the run against, in the run game. And they've been like that for, the last couple of years. Last year they were number 2 or 3 or something like that. This year they're in the same area. They're not as great as they were because Hutchinson is gone, but getting a guy like Darius Smith is going to help. And when you look at this Detroit Lions team, I almost said Detroit Tigers because I was doing the Detroit Tigers video earlier. When you look at this Lions team, there's a lot to be desired from this team. Obviously, we all think that they're going to go to the Super Bowl. We all know the offense is going to carry this team more than the defense, but we know that I think we can really realistically rely on the defense. Aaron Glenn's done a damn good job at just making this team better than they were before. And he's doing without Hutchinson, without Davenport, without Derek Barnes. Even the last couple games, no Rodriguez. No Josh Pascal. I think he was down to practice squad defensive ends the last couple weeks. It just shows you what a coaching marvel this what a coaching class it is what we're seeing from Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn's doing a phenomenal job. And a lot of people they were calling for they I heard it all the time. You know, when we were doing the podcast, me and Tyler, we were hearing people say, you know, even Tyler was one of them. Look, we got to get rid of Aaron Glenn. I was like, look, I think they're gonna get better. They're playing, you know, they were starting to turn the channel. You know, they're getting more takeaways. They're doing things like that. And now that they have guys that are talented like Brian Branch, like Kirby Joseph, like Carlton Davis, they're starting to really turn the corner, and you're starting to see it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. 18 takeaways, the fourth most in the NFL, 19 points per game, that's eighth best in the NFL, and 31.4% on third down is best in the NFL. So this Detroit Lions team was speared to a comeback by the defense. Let's make no bones about it. They don't come back in that game against the Houston Texans if they don't get those interceptions, especially if Carlton Davis doesn't make that interception near the end zone. Huge, huge turning points. And give credit to the Lions defense. Again, one of the better red zone defenses in the NFL. This is all a byproduct of Aaron Glenn. And a lot of people they at various points in times, they didn't like Aaron Glenn. They didn't think that he was good enough. They thought that there could be more out of the Detroit Lions defense than was being shown. But what Aaron Glenn has shown this year is way more valuable, and it shows that he's going to be a head coach pretty soon. I think this year, if I'm if I'm the Jets or I'm the Bears, well, I don't think the Bears. I want to go touch the Bears, but if you're the Saints or whoever is looking for a head coach at the end of the year, I think you got to start in Detroit with Aaron Glenn. I think you got to start in Detroit with Ben Johnson. Now, will they go? That's up to them. But you look at what Aaron Glenn's doing without Hutchinson, without Davenport, without Barnes, and he's this defense is carrying the day for Detroit, especially in the red zone. That's where they're making the most of their opportunities and they're playing great football. So if you're a Detroit Lions fan, we all know the offense is great. We all know the offense is great, but the defense has been particularly great. And I love the way that this defense has played, and it's showing up in the stat sheets. It's showing in the game. This last game with the Texans and the Lions, they didn't score no points in the second half against the Texans. I mean, the Texans did score 0 points against Detroit. It just goes to show you that even a guy like Aaron Glenn, who a lot of us chastised, a lot of us were like, when are we going to see more? This is a marvelous coaching job by Aaron Glenn, and he deserves a lot of credit for this. This is a great coaching job. And without a guy like Hutch, they're making it work. And Hutchinson is a huge part to his team. Let's make no bones about it. But having guys like Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are really helping him, stave off the loss of talent that losing Hutch really does. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens for this Detroit Lions team in the next 8 games. You know, Dan Campbell slipped in the radio interview with the 97 the ticket. He said we have 11 games left, which would mean the divisional game, the NFC Championship game, and the Super Bowl. So expectations are high in Detroit, but this defense is championship level defense, and you could say that with no bones about it. Like these stats are championship worthy defenses. You look at the 18 takeaways, the 19 points per game, the 31.4 third down percentage, which is best in the NFL. All these are byproducts of what makes a good team a good team. The Detroit Lions are a good team. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot to get to. We'll have a Detroit Lions News podcast either Wednesday or Thursday, probably Thursday, but we'll see you in the next podcast. We'll have more video clips like this throughout the rest of the season. I took a little break off from the YouTube, but we're gonna get back to it and talk more Lions football on JC Sports on the JC Sports YouTube.